Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Discussion. I am once again joined by Anton and we are here to discuss all the latest Burton Albion news from the last 7 days. Anton, good afternoon. Hope you're well.
Yes, good afternoon. All good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Very, very happy as we have been for the last few weeks with another incredible win, really. A slightly different one to maybe what we have had under Jimmy so far. There was a bit more kind of Northampton really came out the blocks. They came out as especially early on, but we weathered the storm. We got through it, and at the end of the day, we got 2-0 win, which might I add you predicted correctly for I think the second week in a row now. So yeah, it's a really important win for us.
Yeah, the betting bank balance looks a little bit better than it did a few weeks back, certainly. Well, no, as you said, it was a different kind of performance. We probably didn't perform to as well as we did against Hull and probably Gillingham away. But it was another performance where, again, we showed a good team ethic, plenty of obviously teamwork, working for each other, and we grinded out a result. We obviously had to wait till obviously late into the second half to score. Obviously, then the goal to kill it off right at the end. But so it's a different kind of performance, and at the minute it doesn't really performances don't really count. It's results that matter. But 3 clean sheets out of 4, absolutely amazing turnaround as we spoke about before. The last 7-8 weeks has been a massive shift, and you can certainly feel that from the social media, obviously aspect of people talking, obviously just through text message and whatever from friends as well. Everybody's a lot more positive, even though we're still bottom of the league. We're a hell of a lot closer to safety than we ever were 8 weeks ago, without obviously playing as many games as anybody else. But we've got a really, really big opportunity now to kick on and climb up that league.
And like you said, there's a real sense of kind of optimism around the club now. I mean, we're 3 points away from safety at the moment, and we hold 1 or 2 games in hand on pretty much every single team above us. In fact, there's a few teams above us who have played 2 more than us, and only 2-3 points ahead, which is it's an opportunity. And when you've got, we still want to push to win every game, but you can kind of, in a way, you can almost afford to trip up, because as optimistic as we'd like to be, we are eventually gonna, I think, we're gonna come up against a really strong team, whether that be coming later on, and it's good. No, it's good to have this kind of opportunity where we can either push ahead of them, or it's not good. I don't think it's not a difficult task for us to catch up to teams, but it's going to be hard work, definitely, and there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, you say it's an opportunity. There's games in hand. When we looked at it the other way around and we said that other clubs have got games in hand, and I said, I'd rather have the points on the board. The kind of tables have turned a little bit now with us having games in hand, but it's an opportunity. There's no certainty that we'll pick points up. You look at our next 2 fixtures, obviously in Sunderland and Charlton, 2 teams in the top 8, obviously in the top half of the table, 2 of the bigger clubs probably in the league as well. So to pick up any points in the next 2 games would be really, really good. Obviously after that, we then look at Rochdale, Bristol Rovers, 2 teams that obviously with us at the bottom. So the next 4 games, 2 tough ones and 2 ones that are really, really crucial. We've got to treat the next 2, I think, as almost a free hit. Obviously, the win against Hull's made it a little bit easier regarding that, but we're going to be playing every Saturday, Tuesday now for the next probably 6 to 7 weeks. So the games are going to come quick and fast, and the momentum's important. But obviously, that whole game kind of has alleviated the pressure a little bit. Points that we didn't ever expected to get. Obviously, you should never expect to get any points. Obviously, you've got to deserve every win. But say Sunderland on Saturday is a free hit for me. But obviously, we're Sunderland's bogey team, so we'd hope we get something out of it. It's a home game as well. Obviously, Jimmy talked about making it a fortress. Then Charlton on Tuesday again is a free hit. It's an away game. Another team in the top half, in the top 8, pushing for the playoffs. Before we get to 2 clubs that are fine at the bottom with us, which are really, really important. But obviously, the back-to-back games is crucial to why Jimmy wanted those numbers in his squad, which obviously he's thankfully managed to get.
Yeah, and actually one of the players that we brought in, and we saw him appear in that Northampton game later on, a player who's looking to add, a bit of depth, but a bit of quality as well. Danny Rowe, former Ipswich man, he left them in the summer. 28 was a winger. We saw a little bit of him on Saturday against Northampton. Good signing again, Anton. One of the many ones that we've made.
Yeah, it's certainly added depth. A position that I think everyone's alluded to, that obviously a striker would be on the main wish list. But it's another winger, it's another kind of option out wide. But I think wingers are probably important to how we play at the minute. You look at when we're defending well in numbers and as a team. I know obviously then we counter quite quickly. So those wingers have really got to get up and down, and they've got to be really fit. So to have obviously quality and depth is really, really crucial in that. Obviously with Kane being injured as well, Lucas is obviously been put up top, but again, he's starting to look a little bit like the Lucas of old. Maybe the pressure of him not having a kind of a transfer story over his head has probably helped that a little bit. Jimmy probably giving him some more confidence back. But the signing of Danny Rowe, obviously he scored goals. His injury record isn't great, but it's kind of, again, like Michael Mancian, he's got a window to kind of prove himself, ready for next season if we stop up, hopefully which we will, or if we need to rebuild a little bit if we go down. So it's another good option. It's another set of fresh legs. Obviously, tactically wise, he probably plays a little bit different to the likes of Lucas or Johnny Smith out there, or is it Josh Parker? I think he's starting to look really, really clever. A really clever player and a good acquisition.
Yeah, and you mentioned Josh Parker's name there, and I mean, for me, it's another really, really impressive performance from him. We talked about last week how he, looked really good against Hull. Really smart, creative player. I think were two words that came out of your mouth, and he showed it again. I think we kind of shifted him into the centre a bit against Northampton, a bit of a kind of, tactical tweak after the first kind of 20, 25 minutes. But he still looked really good. And like you said, he's starting to look like a key player to our attack, really. There's he can find the passes, he finds the space. And he was very important to some of our attacks in that game as well. He's kind of, controlling everything from his place just in behind Lucas. He looked really good.
Yeah, I think the game on Saturday was quite an interesting game to watch, tactically wise. I think Jimmy alluded to it. You could see that Northampton changed several times during the game from a back four to a back three to a back five. And I think we tried to counter that, obviously pushing Ryan Broom out wide at one point, and obviously Josh Parker then coming in, playing just behind Lucas. And at times he played up front with him as a two. But I think it's really important that we've got those players that can kind of move around and play in different positions. Obviously, Smith can play on both wings, Lucas can play on both wings, play up top. Obviously now Josh Parker as well. Ryan Bloom probably hasn't kind of hit the ground running for me yet. I think we all know what he's capable of, obviously from past experiences. I'm not sure obviously how long he hasn't been playing kind of football for, but he probably just hasn't quite hit it off for me yet. But I thought when Parker certainly played up top with Lucas or just off him, as you say, I thought he looked really, really clever. He also went back and did the dirty work as well when we were out of possession, which is what we've kind of said what Jimmy's football's about, where all 11 men have kind of got to work hard and get behind the ball and try and cut the ball out at source, wherever it is on the pitch.
And two players for me who have really kind of, become their own under Jimmy is this incredible midfield pairing that is starting to move between Sean Clare and Ryan Edwards. I mean, as another really impressive performance from both of them. Clare obviously got the assist, which, is maybe a little bit generous to give it to him, but he got the assist nonetheless for Michael Boswick's goal, and general was a really, strong tackler, and is really important that with how Northampton kind of looked to play their game, I think both Clare and Edwards did really well at stopping them transitioning quickly when they won the ball. Clare or Edwards were always, straight on them, putting a challenge in, putting a leg in. Sean Clare must have won so many tackles against Northampton, and obviously against Hull as well. He's looked like a really smart signing. And then Ryan Edwards, of course, being Ryan Edwards really, and kept on running to the end. Obviously scored a great goal, running pretty much the length of the pitch. It's what our midfield is starting to be all about.
Yeah, you talk about Sean Clare. Obviously, he was playing right back for Oxford. Obviously, wasn't happy and wanted to come and play a central kind of midfield role. Another club, and you can see why. His quality on the ball as well as off the ball is there to be seen. His energy, and again, talking back to how kind of Jimmy plays. You want to cut the ball at source, so as high as up the pitch as possible. And obviously we've done that with the defence stepping up so far. And obviously that in the midfield then going as well. But obviously they're being quite tight lines and there's not much space in between any of the lines. So it's really important that obviously those two in the middle of there are energetic, and we knew anyway what Ryan Edwards was capable of. But obviously him dropping a little bit deeper probably now. But he's a shuttler, and his work, both of them, their work ethic, they've seemed to have really hit it off in there. And it's like seeing the Naylor and Weir combination that we had in that League One, League Two season. It's really, really good to see, and I think they're probably the two really crucial roles that we've got in the squad, and to make the formation and the way we want to play work. Those two are going to really, really continue to with that kind of performance level. So like they've done it the first few weeks, but hopefully their energy levels will continue. Obviously, we have got other options in there with Kieran Wallace, there's Kieran Gilligan, can all play in the central midfield. Ben Fox is even obviously back in the squad and around and about. Joe Powell's not even been mentioned in any of that. So there is other options to come in if they do run out of steam. But I think an important thing for us, if we're going to get out of this and kind of propel up that table, is those two staying fit and playing and maintaining their performances every week.
Yeah, and like I said, they've proven that with these last two games, and we've got to give credit to the defence, of course, for keeping the clean sheets. I think in the last two games, the opposition have only managed one shot on target in both of those games, which is really impressive. And it came from Northampton, and it wasn't the most it wasn't maybe a shot that you'd expect your striker to score, which is brilliant. And we haven't really looked like conceding, which is incredible, but it has to be down to those two as well as the defense. I mean, obviously Josh Earl has been incredible. Hayden Carter's been really impressive since he signed. But as a unit, that kind of six that you've got back there, the back four, and those two defensive midfielders have looked so solid defensively. And then obviously, you've got the wingers and, the attacking midfielder who's tracking back and doing their work as well. And if we can keep these clean sheets up, then I think that's the really important thing for me, because as we've mentioned a few times before, is that if you don't concede, you don't lose a game. And if we can go and keep a clean sheet against Sunderland and take even against Charlton and take a point against them, that's a really good result either way.
Yeah, the clean sheets are a team effort. So the way we're playing and the way we're defending is absolutely tremendous. And the number of shots on target, as you say, the shots that we are conceding are outside the box. The further you get away from goal, the less kind of likelihood there's going to be on target. And obviously, in time, if those less shots are hitting the target, the ratio of goals going in is obviously going to drop. And obviously, because we're defending that lot higher up the pitch, obviously the shots are getting further and further away. So you are going to see a massive difference in that. But I'm still, to this day, I'm still not convinced our goalkeeper's position is nailed on to who should be in the sticks. But on the other hand, Ben Garrett's got 3 clean sheets in those 4 games since Jimmy's come back. So at the minute it's kind of his shirt to lose. He's not really had any mistakes that he could have made. Honestly, I don't wish any mistake on him at all. But that's the one position still for me I'm still a bit unsure on. You look at the goal that was disallowed, I think was offside. It was given for in the end in the first few minutes. He didn't really take charge of that and come off the line. But then I've read an interesting stat on Twitter this week that it was the graphs cut into 4 grids, and he's actually in the in the top right-hand graph, part of the graph, which actually is about coming off the line. He's one of the most successful goalkeepers for that. So not sure where the stats come from that, because obviously watching every game and every minute, that's the one thing with his game that I think he struggles with, and that we lack a little bit. But clean sheets don't lie, and at the minute he can't really unsettle that. So it's a collective team effort from front to back, or back to front, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah, and you mentioned that free kick kind of scenario in the first few minutes, and I think and when it went in, maybe it was just me, but it was all kind of like that was the typical goal that we conceded to Northampton early on, set piece. This seemed to go all the way in, and it was maybe, as you mentioned, I thought it should have done better. It's a really, talking from a goalkeeper, as you're normally keen to point out, it is a difficult ball to deal with because it's a low. It's come through a lot of men, before it's reached him, and with the kind of trajectory on it was a really good delivery. But you just, even if it's the centre half or someone dropping in, you have to deal with those kind of set pieces. And if I think we looked a little bit shaky at times defending the set pieces against Northampton. Maybe it was just me, but there was a few where we were kind of wincing a bit, especially those wide free kicks, which was where that disallowed goal came from. It was kind of a little bit shaky. Maybe sometimes you need someone in goal, arguably, to maybe take charge of the situation a bit more, to kind of command, someone's just got to put a boot through it or whatever. But the positive side of that is that it looks like if we're going to concede at the moment, it's not going to be from open play, and that's a huge part of the game. And almost all of the game is played from open play, and the shots from the edge of the box that opponent have hit the crossbar twice against us. Hull hit the crossbar from 25 yards out, and Northampton have hit the crossbar from 25 yards out. And when that's the closest teams have come to scoring against you, it's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, you've used the word command there. Even for that goal that was disallowed, for me, it's an in-swinging corner that comes into the box rather than an out-swinging one that's obviously going away. So, if a goalkeeper is commanding enough, certainly from the distance the free kick was, he should be coming out from that and catching the ball. I say catching the ball like that because one of my pet hates is keepers punching it, which seems to have gone into modern day football a lot. But if a goalkeeper catches the ball, it kills it dead. Your team are in possession, whether that be a quick counter up the pitch or settlers down to roll it out and play from the back. You punch it, it can go anywhere, and you've got a little less control over it. But you mentioned about set pieces. Obviously, the way we're playing, I think in time we're going to give away more free kicks because obviously we're wanting to stop that play at source. But the players we've brought in, and obviously the size of them we've brought in, that back line's a hell of a lot bigger than it was before. So I think if we can sort out kind of positionally what we're doing at set pieces, and if the goalkeeper can sort out commanding, coming to claim some of those crosses a little bit more, I won't have any doubt or any kind of negativity towards it, and I'll be quite positive about it all. But you say, the shots are coming from further and further out, and that's the massive, probably main reason why we're not conceding as many shots on target, shots in total, and certainly conceding that many goals.
Another thing that was interesting that I kind of looked at throughout the week following the Northampton game was the expected goals metric that we've kind of had since Jimmy's come in. I'm sure you're familiar with expected goals, Anton. And
am I?
Well,
for football manager by any chance?
Potentially, yeah. And we've actually only been outperformed on XG, which is, it's kind of a rough baseline for your performance levels. And, even if you're like an outlier was Gillingham in Jimmy's first game back. They had a 1.3 XG, I think it was, and obviously didn't score. But that was the highest it's been against us. And after that, we've outperformed every team, which is, like I said, it's a good kind of benchmark for the performance levels. And it's not whether we are winning games, but whether we should be winning games. And generally, you look at kind of, teams that are underperforming, it's almost a sign that they will turn it around at some point. And for us, when we're, performing at the correct level, it's a good sign. And, it shows the potential to kind of carry on at this level, I think.
Yeah, stats are a funny one. Where this expected goals of stats come into football in the last probably season, 2 seasons is an interesting one. I know when I saw it on Football Mind, I was like, "What the hell's going on here? What's this all about?" But no, back into the real world. Anyone that thought that Jimmy was going to come in and play this expansive football was on a different planet. You saw him from the first time, even though he was this flamboyant striker that scored great goals and obviously was an attacking player. We played quite tight, quite compact, and you've seen that again now. We're not going to play high possession-based football where we pass it around and go attacking and play quite expressively. We're going to play in a routine manner with patterns of play which we've seen, stay compact, stay in our positions, and everybody knows where to go and kind of not where to move out of position as such to leave gaps if we lose possession. So the XG, as you call it, isn't going to be high for either team. And anybody that wants to buy a game, don't expect a 4-3 thriller or a 3-2 thriller or a 3-0 or anything like that. They are going to be 1-0s, 2-0s, 2-1s, and they're going to be tight games.
One game that we'll be hoping for a tight game and hoping to get a result out of is our upcoming game at home to Sunderland. They're going to have their tails up. They're coming into the game off the back of a 4-1 win against Doncaster, who are kind of also up the top competing. A pretty ridiculous game in which Aidan McGeady gets 4 assists, Charlie White gets 4 goals, and I must be quite honest, Anton, I'm a little bit scared of Sunderland. At the moment, they seem to have kind of, when you go and smash a promotion rival like they have done to Doncaster, it's a little bit kind of, I'm not liking the look of them at the moment, and maybe a bad time to play them, arguably a good time to play them. Bit of complacency maybe, which, it's going to be a really difficult game.
Bit concerning that I've just heard a Geordie fan tell me that you're scared of a Sunderland team. Well, you look at it, they're a team again that have changed their manager, and they're reaping their rewards at the moment. The size of the club, they shouldn't be in League One. Obviously, they're going to steadily climb the table, whether it be this year or next year. They're certainly going to, you would hope and expect them to get back into the Championship. Obviously, big name in Lee Johnson, lots of managerial experience. They've had obviously upturning form since he's come, but you look at the past, we're kind of Sunderland's little bogey team. But I don't think we're in a position to be scared of anybody. People should be scared of us. We're bottom of the league, but we're picking up results now, and our performances are getting better. Nobody wants to lose the bottom of the league. So, again, all the pressure is actually on the away side, and the team that's actually near the top, not us vying at the bottom. Nobody expects us to get a result. You talked about McGeady and Wycott there out front. Obviously, the championships with Salah and Kane at the minute, but there are only 2 players. There's 11 players in the team, and it'll be interesting to see which way that Jimmy goes. Obviously, trying to defend that. I would personally expect to see Michael Bostwick still play this week. I think since he's come back in, obviously after John Joe got injured, I think he's been really, really good. Obviously, he got his goal on Saturday as well. Obviously, his physical presence is only going to kind of offset, obviously, White's aerial ability as well. But again, we've talked about it. The importance will be is to shuttling down the ball at source. So obviously, McGee doesn't get on the ball as often, and if he does, he doesn't do any damage. So, it's a team effort again, but we've got to cut it out at source before it gets that far, which I think we're in a really great position to do, how we set up and play.
Yeah, and it's going to be, I think, really important against Sunderland, because for me, Aidan McGeady is one of the best players in the league, and he really should not be playing at this level. It's pretty kind of, crazy when you think about it, that he was playing playing at the highest level not so long ago, and suddenly he's here kind of, and he's been brought back in by Lee Johnson, and is, it seems to be putting in good performances. And yeah, it's a really important one that, like you said, we kind of just don't let him get the ball that, to start off with. And if he's not got the ball, then he can't do it.
Exactly. If we can stop him from getting the ball in the first place, even better. But the crucial thing is, Sunderland, they're going to get the ball to him by hook or by crook. But then stopping him doing what he can do on the ball. That's the bit. But if you can do the bit beforehand of actually stopping someone and getting the ball to him, it's a massive, massive caveat to how we're going to play and set up. So I certainly expect to see a close game again. And obviously, the longer the game goes at 0-0, they'll get more frustrated. And that Northampton game, we can hopefully then go and force them to make a mistake, and we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, and it's almost a bit not in our favour that they don't have their fans in the stadium, because we've seen in years gone by. I remember when we drew 1-1 to them with fans a few years ago, and it was at 1-1 for a lot of the game, and the stadium was really kind of there was a lot of kind of, I think I sensed a lot of frustration that Sunderland were struggling to break us down, and obviously with that kind of, like you said, the bogey team kind of relationship that we've got, it's almost like a fixture that is I would hope to think that they come into and go, oh no, it's Burton who are they should be big enough to beat, but they don't, and they're not, and I think it's almost a hindrance to us that there's no fans there, because we know that they'd be behind the away end, really kind of getting at them, and if they're not performing, which I mean you could argue an advantage to them as well, but no, and we know that Burton will be bouncing as well for that Sunderland game, because it's one of those games that I think every team plays, and it's kind of like it's almost like you're welcoming that big team that shouldn't really be at this level. If you remember when we played Newcastle in the Championship, it was kind of like, everyone was kind of like stunned. It's like, why are Newcastle playing here at this 7,000 capacity stadium, And we gave them a game on that day. I'm hoping that we'll give Sunderland a good game on Saturday.
Yeah, we tend to play better against the better teams, don't we? The magical moments we've had in the last few years, or certainly for a long, long time now, since I've been supporting them, we've always played well against the better sides and never really been blown away. If I had my wish this weekend, I'd get Sky to ensure that Darren Bent was commentating on our game to scare the life out of Sunderland, and also Stephen Bywater to be sitting somewhere in the stand for the officials to see him. Thinking back to that game at the Stadium of Light, as I'll word it very carefully, how we got out of that day, and the emotions of the 5-minute turnaround, and obviously that goal from Bent, and obviously the disallowed goal with Bywater. The players that we left at Sunderland will probably still have that kind of nightmare in them. So if those were in the stand, that's the one kind of little mind trick I'd be trying to get to make sure that they were there. But no, they'll be fearful. As I said before, the pressure's on them, with or without fans. Social media again is a massive thing. I'm sure there'll be some parts of the squad have read bits and bobs and whatever, but the pressure is all on them. They feel they shouldn't be in League One. They're a bigger club than that, and they should feel that it's a must that they beat bottom of the league, Little Burton Albion. So the pressure's all on them, and we've got to play with no fear and just kind of play our game and see what develops. It's a free hit, in my opinion.
On that kind of note, what score prediction are you going for, Anton? Is it by any chance a 1-0, or are we toning it down for this week? Are we feeling a bit more optimistic? What's the... You've got high expectations. You've got them right in the last 2 weeks. People are expecting a correct answer.
Yeah, I've got Sky Bet on my phone telling me not to dish my information out. I'm going to go with a 0-0 draw. I think that's going to be a really good result for us. Obviously, I still think with Kane missing, we probably lack a little bit of a goal threat. But I think it's probably going to be our biggest test so far. So I'll be certainly happy if we keep the Sunderland end to 0. So I'll go with 0-0 this week. Yourself?
I'll go with a 0-0 as well, I think. And of course, we're playing, as you mentioned, this kind of schedule that we've got. You touched on that earlier. We are also playing on Tuesday. We visit Charlton, who, of course, we got one of the incredible wins under Jake against that 4-2 home win. A word on them, really. They're in really kind of patchy form. They're obviously playing on Saturday away at Fleetwood if that game does go ahead. It's going to be another, as we've said, another really tough test. Can you see us getting another 0-0 against them?
They're playing red. That's about as much as I can tell you at the minute. As you say, you've caught me on the hop a little bit today. So my research isn't as probably as in depth as normal. But again, you know, we're travelling away to a bigger club that's been in the Premier League. Obviously, was in the Championship not too long ago. They got a manager that again probably deserves to be having a better chance than he is obviously in League One. They've still got the majority of the squad they had when they're in the Championship. So again, we're travelling to a team that thinks they're bigger than League One, which they probably are. They're pushing for the playoffs. Their fans and probably their whole club will expect to be beating Burton Albion at home. So again, another game where there's no pressure. It's another free hit, as I said before. The next two are free hits. So if you can pick 1 point, 2 points, 3 points up, absolutely fantastic. Pick any more than that, wow, what a bonus and what a massive statement that will be. But, you know, we've got to make sure that we just stay as solid as we can and make sure we get through the games unscathed. Obviously, don't let confidence dip by getting battered, which I can't see that happening. I think Jamil will keep their feet on the ground. We'll say compact and tight at all times and then sure we're ready for the next two big games in Bristol Rovers and Rochdale after that. So, yeah, it's a big week. It really is a big week again. And I think every week now is going to be big, but for different reasons. You know, if we do pick up points, there are a massive bonus, and obviously any pressure that we do obviously have would reduce. But you know, it makes the impact on the two games further on from these two. It makes a big difference to them if we can pick something up in the next two games.
Yeah, and like you said, the pressure's not on us for either of these games, and we're kind of, I think if we can even literally get 1 point from the two games, it would still be a big, you know, it wouldn't be a bad result, and any points are points at the end of the day, and that's, you know, 1 point more that we've got on the board. Like I said, two really tough tests. I think that Sunderland game is going to be, I think you kind of mentioned it, probably the hardest game that we've played under Jimmy so far, against a team that's, you know, but the pressure's all on the opponents, and yeah, hopefully we can pull off another kind of shock result and get a win or get a point, and that'll be a good one. That'll be a good result.
Yeah, if you can get look at the four games as a whole. If we can get 6 points out of 12, that's 50%. That's massive. That's, you know, that isn't relegation form. I think that's the way you've got to look at it. Anything above that is obviously massive, massive bonus. You know, if we win all our games, I think we end up with like 83 points or something daft. And I'm not under, you know, I'm not trying to cover over to anybody that we're going to do that, because it's very, very unlikely. You know, you look at the grand scheme of things, if we do that, we were pushing for the top three if we did that. So there's loads and loads of points left to play for still. And as we've seen with football this season, in every league, any team can beat anybody, and every kind of league is wide open. So there's a long, long way to go. So everybody just needs to stay positive and level-headed, feet on the ground, not get carried away. But we're certainly setting ourselves up to be in a good position to get out of this.
Are you gonna take a stab at a score prediction for Charlton, Anton, or are you a bit too ill prepared for that one?
No, I'll go with a 1-0 away win. You?
I'll go with another 0-0. The 1-0 would be brilliant, but, you know, I'd take 2 points from these two games that we've got coming up this week would be a really, really good display for me.
I'm running out of goal celebrations. We've not scored that many goals for that long. I've used them all up in the last couple of weeks. I'm just going to resort to a Michael Bostwick growing beard.
And hopefully more goals to come, as we've said, in these upcoming few games that are going to be really important.
Clean sheets. Just clean sheets.
Our season goes.
That's all I want. Clean sheets. Keep clean sheets. We'll be there or thereabouts.
And with that, Anton, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
No problem.
Yeah, we'll catch up next week when we're hopefully celebrating some really solid results.
Yeah, keep safe, everybody. Stay positive.
Cheers, Anton. Stay safe.